Hello, everybody. On Purim, there's a lot of masquerading, and I thought, well, being that we're in the time period close to Purim, I'd talk a little bit about clothing. It's well known, the statement, clothes make the man. And of course, it sounds pretty weird. How can clothes make a man? How could it create a personality? But we all know that there's a great amount of truth to that. I mean, if you look at it in terms of the negative, if you want to destroy a personality, God forbid, you take away his clothing. I'm not talking about necessarily making a person naked, completely unclothed, but just notice that if you want to put a person into, God forbid, into a prison, they take away his individuality and they put him on an orange suit or something to that effect. The idea of clothing can actually create within a person a personality shift from a free person to someone that's docile, someone that's submissive, someone that's a prisoner. And it works the other way around as well. I mean, I know, remembering growing up, if I wasn't feeling well and I wanted to stay home, I'd come to the kitchen with pajamas. I don't feel well. And suddenly, staying home in pajamas meant you were sick. On the other hand, if you want to be healthy or you're feeling better, you get out of your pajamas and you wear clothing, even if you're just hanging out. Clothing has that power. It could actually change us for the better and motivate us, and it could do the opposite. Many people have acquired a tremendous amount of confidence and self-esteem by giving them a new suit or a nice dress. It's just completely different than wearing a shmata, a rag, or something dirty. I could go on and on, but you know this, so there's nothing that I'm telling you that you don't know. There's a very famous story from an American writer, O. Henry, about clothes, and I'll adapt it to a very simple thing about a group of people that want to steal from a bank, and what they have to do is bring one of them into the bank as a security guard, so he'll actually cover and become part of the group. So in order to make sure that he's going to be there at the right time and at the right place, they ask him to apply as a security guard 6 months earlier. Of course, this whole idea is to familiarize him with the bank and the bank with him, so they should not suspect when it comes the day of the robbery, suddenly he will take out his mask and join the robbers, and it would be great. Of course, the irony of it is that over the 6 months, though he's a gangster and he went there only for the idea of casing the joint, so to speak, he actually began to feel like a security guard. And when it came the day of the robbery, and his two friends come in their mask and say, "Everyone freeze," he forgot himself. And instead of joining them, he said, "Stop, thieves!" And he sounded the alarm. That's the power of clothing. That's the power of clothing. Is there such a thing called Jewish clothing? Well, I mean, many of us know maybe about the yarmulke, the skull cap, there's the talit, there's the four-cornered garment. In general, there's modest clothing, especially women that cover up their bodies in a certain way, very attractive, but it's a distinctive way of dress. There's also Hasidic. Many of you have seen it on YouTubes and so on, with people that are wearing different looking hats and long coats. So the answer is, in short, there is Jewish clothing, though it's not limited to a specific style. In general, Jewish clothing would mean clothing that helps you express your soul. And to put it very simply, there are certain articles of clothing and styles of clothing where one looks at the clothing and the person wearing the clothing, and what is being highlighted is, here is a body. Whether the body is very good looking, very trim, or very heavy, it makes no difference. There is a body that's underneath this cloth. And then there's also different types of clothing where a person wears it, and the image is there's a personality. Not a person as a body, but a personality with a mind, intelligence, a sense of humor, maybe a conscience, and so on. Jewish clothing means wearing clothing that emphasizes the spirit. And very often you could say, what does he mean by that? I mean, clothing is clothing. A shirt is a shirt, and a skirt is a skirt, and shoes are shoes. I mean, what difference is there? And yet, Every one of us that's listening to this YouTube could attest that there are certain clothing you would not wear because it's not you. You say, well, it's just clothing. It is just clothing, but it's not me. So clearly there's something about ourselves that we represent and reflect through our clothing. Well, if you thought about it a little bit deeper, and you thought about that you're a soul in a body, and that you're a personality that has great good qualities that are worthwhile to share with others, wear clothing where that's the message, rather than wear clothing that emphasizes the calf, the thigh, the upper part, the lower part. Wow, what a body. What does that mean, what a body? It would be much more impressive, what a mind, or what a soul, or what a conscience, or what decency. So it is a bit of a struggle to find this type of a clothing. And there's a word which says, tzniut, modesty, walk modest with God. Someone once said, when he walking into a middle, middle level manager, the fellow had his own office, and when he walked in, the guy was behind a very large mahogany desk, and the fellow who was going in for a job interview actually sabotaged himself. He made himself look that he's really not interested in the job. So the fellow says, why'd you come? He says, well, I was interested in the job, but when I see you, I'm not interested in the job anymore. He says, what do you know about me? He says, what I know about you is that you're insecure, and I know that you're arrogant. He said, you know that? From what? He says, from your desk. It's like you have to create an image of power. If you're that type of a person, I should get that just from talking from you. But you're trying to impress me with large, colossus, heavy. I don't want to work for such a person. We're going to have personality clashes. In other words, what he was really saying is that I'm getting the sense of body, but not of soul. The sense of body, but not of purpose. So, next time you get masquerade and you put on a mask, ask yourself, what are you doing? Are you revealing who you want to be, or are you covering up who you are? Shalom, and dress well.